We're weeks away from the World Championships in Tokyo, and the women's 100 meter might be the most anticipated race of the entire meet. The rivalry between Melissa Jefferson-Wooden and Julien Alfred has become the storyline. Two women at the top of their game, both with serious claims to the gold medal. Hi, everyone. I'm here because I'm struggling. I'm really struggling because I have to make a prediction in a couple of weeks just before the championships. And I was sitting here trying to think through, how do I square this one up? What can I say that can make me feel good about making this pick? And I figured, why not come hang out with you guys? There's no notice for the live. Dina, what's going on? Good to have you. But I just wanted to run through this. It won't be a long live. And kind of maybe brainstorm. Maybe I'm not thinking about this right. Maybe there's heart. Maybe there is, uh, blind spots in my thinking. I see Dina. I see Anika. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Maybe you guys were on the live last night too. I'm not quite sure, but we had a busy live last night, so sometimes I don't get to the comments. But I want to start with Alfred because when I look at her season, it hasn't been packed with as many races when you compare it to, I guess, Jefferson-Wooden. But the one she's running, it's clearly world class for me. The most recent just came the other day at the Diamond League final in Zurich, where she clocked a 10.76 with a small helping win, positive 0.3. And what's that really telling me at this moment is that even though she didn't have the best start, because we can talk about Tia Clayton and what she accomplished there, she actually had the edge for a while. But once Alfred got into her running, she pulled away. And that's what? A first race over 5 weeks. And it showed that even after what can be considered a long break, she can produce some elite times. And for me, when I look at her season, especially the 100 meter, and I just want to focus on the 100 meter a bit, is that you go back to that run in Monaco, that 10.79 in that 1.4 headwind. Honestly, that might be her best performance of the year. To run that kind of a race in that kind of condition. And it came right after the heels of that lone loss to Melissa Jefferson-Wooden at the Nike Prefontaine. Both of them ran superb time. It was 10.77 to 10.75, I believe, into a headwind as well there. But she was running angry, mad. And then when you stacked it up with her performances in Stockholm and also Oslo, where she ran 10.75 and 10.89, it sets up a season that for me has a clear picture. She's been consistent, she's resilient, and certainly capable of delivering world-class speeds. Not the world-leading times, and we can argue around that. We can figure out whether or not maybe if the conditions were right, she would have managed something much better. And for me, when you look at that, you add that to the fact that she's the Olympic champion. She's the one that everyone has the target on their they look to. She's the targeted one. I want to say Julien, but it's very hard to make that argument when we look at Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, because her season is one of flawlessness, right? Undefeated in 2025. We might argue and say she's taken on a slightly heavier load when it comes to the running. Open up back in April in Kingston, Jamaica, 11:11. Then she dropped a win-aided time, 10:75 in Miramar, both at the Grand Slam events. Then she went to Philly, which was probably really, really impressive performance, 10:73 at that time of year. The win was good, helping, but the conditions wasn't the best for sprinting, far from ideal for sprinting. So you start to tack that up and you look at Julien and you look at Melissa and you start to say Melissa is doing something outstanding. And then for me, she lines up in an interesting way. Possibly the defining point of her season, came at the US Championships, right? Where she managed to run that 1086 into a minus 1.5 win in the heats. Combat the next day, drops a 1065 world leading time. Followed that up again by winning the championships, 2 hours later. And that's world-class durability and execution. And then she goes on to the Diamond League circuit and pops out some big running, big performances. 1066 in Poland, 1076 in Brussels. And when you think about the scalp that she had over Julien Alfred there in Prefontaine, and you see a story that Wooden has just not been fast, but I think she's been flawless. And I can't make a real argument here now because that can go against Julien. And that's the biggest challenge I've been having sitting down thinking about this. So what's at stake in Tokyo? I don't know if it's not just about times. If it's just times, we'll say, yeah, Melissa has the faster times. But both of these women are capable of running sub 10.7. I think they're definitely capable of pushing boundaries, perhaps running times we haven't seen since the great Elaine. Maybe going really close to flat 10.6, those Shelley times, and possibly going below that if the conditions are right. Both of them can run really fast times into headwinds as well. And so the real difference this season, in my mind, has to come down to execution, and particularly the first 30 to 40 meters of the race. We know Julien is devastating once she gets up to top end speed. We saw that in Zurich, where she laid down that on Tia Clayton. But if she gives up anywhere close to that type of distance on Wooden, she's not catching her. And I think that's where the real problem comes. Because Melissa is perfect so far this season. The start is good. She gets into acceleration really quickly. And then she's gone. And I don't see any flaws there. And that's why I'm here. I'm like, I got to come to the comment section in a second because the race probably might be decided out the blocks. On paper, the resume is probably hinting towards Wooden in terms of the season resume. In your heart, you wonder if the Olympic champion, Julien Alfred, will save her best for Tokyo. And that's part of my thinking here. And I don't know if it's because I like Julien. I like Melissa a lot too. So it's not a thing about that. But yeah, maybe because I called the Julien thing before and I knew her cycle is coming, but Melissa's cycle seems to be coming too. And either way, we kind of swing this one this year. It's just not about the race itself. It's probably going to be a clash of style, execution under pressure. And in the 100-meter final, those fractions of a second possibly will determine who is the fastest woman in the world. And I still don't know. Still don't know. Let me get back to the comments because I see a few here. And we'll chop it up until I have to come off. I may not be long tonight. Let's see where we are here. I missed a few. Let me go back to Anika says, good evening. Anika says, I came on late, but rewatched today. Appreciate that. Christina says, I don't think Alfred can beat Jefferson-Wooden. She would have to be in 10-6 shape in 3 weeks and get a start, etc. Too many variables to get there. I want to say that I think Julien is in 10-6 shape unless something... I think she's in 10-6 shape. It's just whether or not she'll execute well. And there's no margin for error this season. That's the problem. If everybody else was like maybe high 10.7s, 10.8s, possibly you wouldn't run into that issue. But you have a woman in Melissa who's just, she's on top of the world right now in terms of how well she's running. You rewatch her races and maybe there's some small tweaks, but there's nothing that you can come and nitpick. She's just beautiful to watch at the moment. You see a lot more in Alfred for sure, things that I'm sure Coach Flo isn't happy with or they'll work on, maybe put it that way. So there's an upside for Julien to knock up a big run. I'm trying to think, is there any kind of pressure that any of these athletes will be under? I don't know. You think about Melissa, she's been in big races before. She was there last year. Maybe she goes into the championship knowing that whatever outward claims she might want to make, she is the favorite based on paper. But are you really the favorite when the Olympic champion is there? So that's the kind of question that I would like to know. We'll never know the answers there from the athletes. They won't give us that kind of insight. But it's interesting. Yeah. Anika says she was impressed by Tia holding off Juju for 60. I was too. I like what I saw yesterday. Leighton and I kind of chopped it up a little bit. It brings me a lot of hope for those youngsters because you could see that next year, it's not a championship year, but it's an elite year in terms of a new cycle for world athletics. They'll be dropping the ultimate championships in Budapest. But then you walk into a cycle where you can see a world championship ahead and the Olympics in LA. And those women, those the twin girls there, should be looking at that as the main cycle. And getting used to what it means to compete under pressure, compete, traveling, being a full professional. They got a taste of it last year, but this is a different time. And at least by my reckon, as long as they put both of them in the relay, and I can't see that being an issue because it's a subject to the organizing team for Jamaica to do that. And you have to be foolish if she's not a part of the relay pool. You may walk away with a medal that can build. Sometimes you start to get a taste of what it means at that level. And so I like that. I agree with you. I think she was doing well. She ran with a steely determination as well, because I knew, that she wanted to win the race. It wasn't possible because Alfred is just next level right now. But she had her sights set on trying to get a position, one of those wild card spots into Tokyo, and it didn't happen. So it must be also disappointing, but the performance is good. And to come back after pulling up in the 100 meters at Jamaica National Championships and then seeing out a way to end the season, at least individually, it's good stuff. Dina says, I think 10-7 will win the 100. Nerves from all parties will take place, and if both run the same semifinal, I think I missed some of that, Dina. Yeah, I don't know. I think 10-7 could win it. You never know. I suspect because of how fast Jefferson has been running, and also Alfred, because she's been running fairly fast as well. You take a step back and you're like, if I'm not running 10-7s, if I can't consistently drop down those times, if I'm not going below sub 10-7, am I in jeopardy of not winning? So that would be my take on it. I think those two women are going to come in capable of running 10-6. Whether it happens is a different story. Some of that obviously comes down to the conditions, the moment. We shall see. Dina was surprised Tia was leading. Anika says, it would seem that the case right now, MJW is making 10-6 look easy. That's a good point. And really, it looks that way. and she didn't compete at the Diamond League final. Her last one was before. I think they're just getting ready for Tokyo, like everybody else now. So I don't know their travel arrangements, but a lot of athletes are looking to go to Japan next week. Some might go in a little bit later, but trying to get acclimatized to the conditions and time adjustment. Obviously, for some people, it's a return back to a place where they may have had success, but no one in the stands. I think it's a good moment for Japan in general because they had planned a really wonderful Olympics, and unfortunately, because of the time, no one was there to see it in person. Yeah. Dina says she definitely thinks by next year Tia can go 1078. I suspect, yeah, I think one of these Clayton twins might run a 10-7 and we might be shocked, but we'll wait for that. I see a bunch of people coming through. Let me run through. I want to get there's some internal conversation happening. Anika says, I just absolutely love the excitement the hundreds are giving men and women. Oh, yeah, men too. We'll talk. We can spend some time on that too. Wayne says, Alfred is going to win. Julien took her lightly in that one-off race. Yeah, I want to be careful here because when we analyze it that way, Wayne, we have to think that I don't think Julien would have just taken it lightly. I think she has massive respect for the competitors. She would have known by then that she's in great shape, right? She would. It was obvious, right? Nike Prefontaine was a tough race. Both of them ran really fast. What was it? It was 1075 to 1077. She just couldn't do it. And I think it was more from an execution standpoint when she was upset, not that she took her lightly. I'm not quite sure I would buy that argument, to be honest with you. But I think it's more Julien feeling that she didn't execute well. Dina says, I call it from now. 10-7 would win Worlds in the final. If both Alfred and Melissa run the semifinal, they're going to run 10-7. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Dina says, I see the logic there. They're going to try to get over each other. I mean, the semifinal might be interesting. I don't know. We don't know how that will pan out now. I have no idea right now. We'll have to wait once those things unravel. It's interesting kind of a setup, as we know, 9-lane finals in Tokyo. No need for any kind of fastest loser situation or fast time to get into the final. So it's about controlling your semifinal. So assuming that both of those athletes aren't in the same semifinal, then comfortable execution should be fine. Yeah. Let me see where I am here. Sherwood is in the house. It's great that there's an element of unpredictability here. On the day, anything can happen. That's why we watch. A lot can happen in 3 weeks. No doubt. I agree on that. But I want to make a prediction. And I know most of us want to make predictions and figure out what's going to happen. I'll do a prediction show. I'll think through this some more. But yeah, I never like to make these hard predictions, right? Like in the sense that because I feel like I want that to happen, that's the prediction. But part of me also have this kind of feeling that Alfred will just sneak up and win it. And it will be reminiscent of, I don't think it would be the same, I guess, because the difference that year was I always bring up the example of that year Gatling was having that great season and Usain came and won the only time he was on. I think he was undefeated in the final and until the final rather, and both won the title. That would be a tough pill to swallow if that happened to Melissa, and it could happen. It certainly could happen. Yeah. Let's see. Edric Young says, how are you doing? The main thing, Melissa is not afraid of Julien. She has been beating her from the time they were in college. Now, that's a very good point, too. I guess the college part at this point, I'm not 100% sure how we calculate that anymore as when you get to that level. Because you have on the one hand, you have the Olympic champion, and that's the biggest of all stages in track and field, in probably all of sport. I will agree with you that Melissa has nothing to be afraid of, especially when she reflects on the season up to now. Particularly because they lined up in Oregon and she won. And that's one thing, but when you tack on the fact that she's been running these 10-6 and super and 10-7s, whether it's into headwind or not, she has to feel good about herself. She has to go home with a smile and maybe an extra pep in that step, saying, you know what, I'm going to win this. So if there was any second thought, there's no trepidation here. She knows that she's capable of doing it, and she tested it out already. So I think in that sense, the college part, I'm not sure if it carries over once you start to win the big titles. And so we'll see. Sherwood says, when the Twins went to MVP, Frano told us to be patient because the project would take years. They're not in the realm of Juju and MJW yet, but are rounding into form quite nicely. Quite nicely, rather. I agree. He did say that, and there's a number of reasons for this. Well, I don't want to get into some of the other kind of analysis on this because this might get into a different space. Correct. I think he looked at them. He knew there were some issues that they would have to work on. And working on those issues would take a little time. And what's the rush, right? Well, there's always a rush because people outside want to see how quickly they can transition. Remember, they even left high school early, right? If I'm correct, that's the case, right? They could have done another year, I believe. And so they're young, and they've had tastes of things that will, if the appetite is still there, and there's no doubt it has to be there. They're used to winning at the junior level as well. I think they'll be fine. They definitely will be fine. Yeah. Dina says, I feel like they will put both of them in the semifinal just for excitement, just like they did last year at the Olympics with Sha'Carri and Alfred. I don't know. I mean, I think part of that is not a how it works. I think it's how it sets up, right? It's like a computer-based thing, right? I have to check how they're gonna do it again, but I don't know. Dina says most Jamaicans are in Germany right now. Yeah, I heard there was some last couple of weeks. There were some all the visa stuff was trying to be get dealt with and all that stuff. We talked about that the other day. Zebbev says it will be close. You simply can't let Melissa get away from you early. No, I think that's the key. I honestly, I think that's the key to the race, because the 100 meters in this context requires so much. There's little mistake you can make right now. And to be honest with you, if Julien allows her to get away from her, I think it's all over. The 200, different story. I think, and we'll talk about the 200 in due time. I like Alfred's chances over the 200 to destroy the field there with a little bit of a margin. But in the 100 meters, you have to execute really well. Jared says, chance someone else pulls an upset. I can't see an upset in the 100 meters for women. I think any upsets happening is I don't think there's going to be an upset. I think the gold medal goes through those two women, because we haven't seen anything from anybody else that gives us an indication that they're anywhere close to running those consistent times. I believe the bronze medal is up for grabs. Anybody can win it. And from a long list of names, Tina Clayton. I mean, you never know if Talu will find a way. You can never know. Asha Smith, all these athletes. Darren Leet has been having a terrible season by her standards, but you never know. I think it's open in an interesting way there. Sharika Jackson, although Depends on if she actually runs it. Yeah, you never. I think there's a opening there for the 100 meter. I'm not quite sure what we'll get from even Shakari. She was trending down, but it doesn't seem as if she has the ability to really push towards defending her title. And she's having some off the field, off the track issues as well. I think she has to show up for. I don't know if personally she goes to court next week, but I think she has to go to court. So I'm not sure where her headspace is. So I think that part is open, but it comes down to those two, to be honest with you, Jared. Yeah. Courtney, how are you doing? Juju is not a fluid in her sprinting as Melissa. Exactly. I think that's for sure. Even every performance we've seen this year, even if we go back to that 200 meters in London, there was almost a reset on the home stretch in a sense. So there's a lot to work there. You have to like that if you are conditioning her, if you are trying to get her to that next level, there's a lot to work with. You may not necessarily like it when the other athlete on the opposite end there is coming full flowing gazelle-like kind of sprinting at the moment. But it's going to be interesting. Zeb says no one else has shown low 10-7 shape. Yeah, no one's there. Mindset reloaded. What's going on here? Or reload. I have what? I have mine too. I don't see how Alfred going to beat. Oh yeah, I guess you have Jefferson to win. How come you got a reload? What happened to your other channel? Your other account? Or you just changed the name? Yeah. Oh, you okay? I'm reading it better now. I have Melissa to win the 100-meter final. She has the advantage out of the blocks. Alfred has not been impressive when compared to Melissa's start. Yeah. Sophisticated one. What's going on? Wouldn't it be funny if a different Shelly showed up at Worlds and actually became more competitive? Well, look now. That's a lot of heart there. That's like thinking from your heart. That's sentimental. I just can't see it, but it would be interesting. I see Dell coming through as well. It would be interesting. I don't know. She doesn't have the Shelly that we're used to wins from the start or be competitive from the start. She's not pushing out. The last race that she ran clearly showed that it's not there. We can't be mad at it, right? She's given us more, and by us, I mean the entire sport of track and field, whether you are a fan or not. She's given the world some of the greatest nights you can ever have. A smile, a joy, a competitive nature that you can admire, right? So for me, she's the best to do it, and we just have to wait and see. But I don't believe that a Shelley will show up in the way we want her. I think she'll be competitive. She'll do her best, but not the Shelley of old. Now, mark you, I would love it. It would be great to see her making her way into a final and fighting for a medal, but honestly, I can't see it. Sophisticated one says, "What's your reaction to Tia in the Diamond League final? Was hoping she could pull it off. Juju look amazing." Yeah, I think I said it a bit earlier. I was impressed by the run. I think she fought hard. She wanted it. She executed well early. She just doesn't have that level of top end speed that Alfred has. She's not at that level right now. In due time, her time will come. So that's all I have to say there. And given the performances we saw from, unless Julien was really hurt and hobbled up, or there's nobody beating her yesterday at all. Yeah. So the only person that can beat her is Melissa. So it wasn't a fair fight, I think. Del says good night to you. Dina says, I think Frana should make the twins run more 200 races to build more endurance. Possibly has that on the thing. We'll see. We'll see. My thing is anyone can get either gold, silver, I guess, and bronze. Anything can happen. Life is really funny. And no medal, no put down a world's for one particular thing. No, yeah, no, I think that's true. But we have to kind of do our preview things. Yeah, all things, a lot of things can happen. Things can happen, both good and bad, in the sense that people can get hurt, which you never want to see that happen. And surprises can happen, right? Maybe an athlete that we were just not studying comes out of the blue and delivers a performance of their lifetime. I wouldn't bet on it, but it could happen. Debbie, how are you? It may take 10-6 to win. No, I think that's where it's going to be. Yeah. Yeah. Wayne Walker says nobody does 2-10-6 before championships. I think Juju got this. So are you saying that Melissa run all our fast times before the championships and they timed this incorrectly, if I can read into the line of argument you're making? A sophisticated one said the year Jetta ran 10-6 in 2009, she didn't win champs. Anything can happen. No, it's true. That year was I think she was upset that year. Yeah. Look, it could have, you're raising a point, and here's the thing too. Even in 2012, right? In 2012, a lot of people had Jetta to win. Shelley had other ideas, so it can happen. I could see it, yeah. But I don't know for sure. Yeah. I'll go through a few more here. Valentina says, this is the same scenario that last season, but a different American woman. Last year, it was Sha'Carri race to lose, and if she was gonna get beaten, Alfred was the only one capable of doing it. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I think I can't disagree with that. It's the same situation in a sense. Yeah, there's the two top athletes there. This year is the same scenario with Melissa, so my money is still on Julien. Okay. Objectivity, what's going on? You're saying howdy to you. Wayne says, yeah, she okay. So you're saying she peaked too early. I get it. I don't know. I'm not quite sure if that's the case. I think she'll come to the championships and run well. It's possible that she's run the fastest she can, in the sense that she may not go to 10-5, right? But I think she can run 10-6. So it's possible that she won't get faster too. It's one of those things. It just depends on, I don't know how Dennis prepared her or what they're doing. But so it's possible she can get up to that 10-6 and they'll get her back to 10-6, and she may not run faster than that. But 10-6 is 10-6 and it's really fast. Yeah. So it's, some people, we might think that, yeah, the expectation is that if she runs 10-6 in July or June, maybe by the time you get to the championships in September, she should be able to run 10-5. It's not linear like that, I don't think, for every athlete. But that's how we always like to look at it. But I'm not sure. Sherwood says MJW is in such shape that she looks like she's floating down the track. She is. And I you can't be mad, she's just looking really good. Yeah. So Wayne says Shelley did 10-6 and Elaine beat her. I know, that's an interesting lineup there. I think that was a case in which they got it wrong. I still think, I'm not taking away anything from a 21 Elaine. I don't think Shelley would have beaten her regardless, but it would have been an interesting run I think it would be an even bigger run for the ages if Shelley had dropped back a 10-6 that day and Elaine running the 10-5. You never know, right? So it would probably be much more intense. Elaine would have to probably work a little bit harder to pass her, but it would have been brilliant, So yeah, it can happen. You can run some of your best times and miss the right time to run. And this is the calculation that many people have to make. You have to make sure that you're ready. when it counts. But on the evidence of things, we're using two different athletes here, two different situations. We don't have anything to say that they would have gotten it wrong until it happens, or if it were to happen. So we just got to live with it that way. That's how I'm thinking about it. Courtney says anything can happen in any race. That's true, but it's kind of we make those points. Ronessa says in 2009, Gender ran her 2:10.6 times the last 2 meets of the season. So, oh yeah, was it after the World Championships? Yeah, I can't even remember. Yeah. Sophisticated is agreeing with Wayne. Exactly. In 2021, Shelley ran world lead and ran 10.6 and didn't run 10.6 at Olympics. Elaine won. Anyway, yeah. So you have to time it right. Ultimately that's how it works. Wayne says Kishane did 9.75 in. I said he peaked too early and he ain't beating Oblique. But so the thing we know about that camp is that they'll take you out of the peak and bring you back. So I'm not sure. I think he can go back to those times. I'm pretty confident about it. I'm not 100% sure it will happen. Like I can't say definitively, yeah, he's gonna run 10.7. But if he weren't to run 10.7, if it didn't happen, I would more think it's the conditions thing there. Yeah. Zabev said, ultimately, rounds management will be key. That is the most important thing at a championship. Sometimes it takes experience to run the rounds. In the case of the two women that we're talking about, they have it. So I think it's a wash. There's not much we can even think through on that, to be honest with you. Yeah, let's see. After the first round, we'll better know where everyone is. Valentina says, "Yeah, that's true." Objectivity says, "Have you spoken on some of the ugly chatter towards Julien from so-called track fans? Shameful." Yeah, we did touch on it last night. I think all in the game. I put it in the chat last night. I wasn't aware of what was happening with that. Then, yeah, that is shameful. I still didn't go and follow the stuff on social media. I think a couple of things popped up on my timeline, but I didn't have time to think through it. But if people were upset with that, then I think they need to check themselves out, right? This is not how sport works, Dell says Justin Gatlin 2015. Yeah, that was the tough time for him. 2015 was a classic year for him, and Bolt beats him in the most important race. So yeah, the thing you don't want to do as Melissa is to win everything into Tokyo and then don't win in Tokyo. I think that's a tough pill to swallow. Yeah. Mindset Reload says Melissa has consistently run 10.7 seconds. For some reason, we haven't fully appreciated what she's accomplished this season. Juju is undoubtedly top class, but running 10.6 twice this year. No, I appreciate it. I think I know you're probably not directing that to me or so. And some people, I think most people who follow the sport, they appreciate that. She's given us one of the great seasons in terms of consistent running. What she did the other day when she popped up on that Diamond League, the difference in just how she's beating people, we haven't seen that since like Shelley and Elaine in the Diamond League. So by every indication, she's going to go into Tokyo as the favorite. If we just look at the paper stuff, if we look at what we think is important for making any analysis just by pure numbers, she'll get into the championship as the person to beat, right? Zeb says semis usually tell a story, except that that last Sha'Carri looked scared to death and still came back and won. Yeah, it's interesting. You can have bad runs, right? She didn't have the best of run there. If we go back to Budapest, she had to sit in the queue room, and then she got into lane 9, and then she delivered, right? So we'll see. Wayne says either. Oh, they couldn't do that at the Olympics. Okay, so you're talking about Kishane couldn't replicate that. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean it's first championship at that point too. So I think I'm not trying to pick up for athletes, but when you think about his last year was the first season for him fully as a professional athlete. The guy gets to the Olympic final. I mean, yes, he came in with the fastest time in the world, gets to the Olympic final, almost could have won it, but I guess almost isn't good enough the way the standards are in track and field, where we go down to 1,000 of a second. He gets a silver medal. It's you can't. It's kind of useless to kind of nitpick it that way. I get it, but the kid will be fine. You know, Sophisticated one said, I'll admit with confidence Melissa is eyeing the goal. Let's see if she can perform the race of her life. If she does, she may do a low 10.6. Yeah, I think both of them will get into that kind of shape, coming in that 10.6 shape. That's where you have to be. You're being forced to run that. And Sophisticated one continued by saying, in the interview, Brussels, she said she tensed up at the end, but I guess she felt somebody on her heels. So yeah, I think she'll be fine. Yeah, Kimani is here. Julien called out to work when the big boss came to her office. Not sure I understand that. Wayne says those 10.6 are one-off races. Elaine is the only one recently did 10.6 at a championship, then 10.5 after. Juju knows this won't happen. She just she just have to get out on Melissa. Yeah, yeah. I get it. You know, you run those on one-off races. You run them when you run them, right? In a championship year, the most important thing is to deliver at the championship. So, what can I say? You want to win. The time doesn't matter in. Yeah, the time doesn't matter when you get to the championship. You just got to win the race. Kimani says when Melissa came to play, Julien ran. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, see what you're saying. Yeah, cool. All right, yeah. So I don't know. I felt I wasn't planning on the live tonight for sure, guys. I just was just thinking through like what do we make the call on, and it became kind of difficult, you know. Zeb is Bev doesn't believe that she's really laughing at Kimani's thing there. Yeah, I don't know how to read into those things too. It's a one race. What can we say, right? You know, Melissa executed it very well, and Julien didn't. But she wasn't far behind, but she was behind enough not to win. So don't make those mistakes in Tokyo. I think that's what's going to come down to. It's going to be coming down to execution. It's the same thing that's going to happen on the men's side of the affair. We know what's going to happen. Noah Lyles is going to come and he's going to finish fast. The question is, can you ensure that whatever he wants to do, he's only going to see the back of your heels? And that's a question to Kishane Thompson and also Oblique Seville. So far, Oblique Seville and Kishane, you know, he's beaten Noah. Noah hasn't looked particularly great over 100 meters. But so far, his start looks really bad. He's not getting into his running. And I think he's worried too that he won't be able to defend those titles because unless he can execute in a manner where he can get into the race early enough to be with those guys, he's not going to catch them. And he's been destroyed by Oblique in London and also recently in raining conditions in Lausanne. He also got spanked a little bit from Kishane as well. So the execution matters here, right? The execution matters. So if we get to 40, 50 meters and Melissa has a step on ahead of Julien, I think it might be over, you know. You don't want that step. You want to either be leading or side by side, and then we'll see what happens there. Yeah. Lamar the music mix says Atto said Oblique could win worlds. Sounds like he's more worried about Kishane. Who is more worried about Kishane? Atto and his analysis for Oblique? No, I think both Oblique and Kishane should be on the podium. 1-2. It should be 1-2. And to be honest with you, third place should be other people other than Lyles. But Lyles is the kind of guy that will fight, right? Kung Fu Kenny, he has to he needs to show up. You know, he has some issues there, and yeah, we can name some other people: Akane Simbini, Zarnell Hughes. We can start listing people, right? You even think about Akeem Blake. He hasn't been running fairly well, but is this the guy that can run 9.8, right? Can he get down to like 985? That could put him in the mix too. So I think the two outstanding athletes over 100 meters this season, Oblique Seville and Kishane Thompson. You know, Kishane ran early, ran well at Jamaica National Championships. Oblique has been running fairly well since, looking really good on the circuit. Those are the guys that should go there, run the rounds comfortably, well, get into that final, and just go. And I think if Oblique executes the right way, it's going to be hard to catch him. You know? Let's see. Let me get back to the comments here. Courtney says Noah won't win the 100 this year. I don't think he would win either. Right? I'm not putting. Part of me even don't. I don't even want. I'm not even quite sure if I'm putting him in to medal when I'd finish my predictions. But I just knowing the guy and how he runs, you never want to count him out. But he shouldn't be in the mix. Like I'm serious. Like if the other athletes are there, they should be saying this guy shouldn't be there because he's not running well. He had a slower start to the season, and he's just not. His body isn't reacting, at least in the 100 meters as well. Even the 200 meters yesterday, he didn't run a particularly good race over the first phase. He got into his race at the end. You know, Let's see, Litiboga was leading all the way until the last 10 meters there. Objectivity says, love the passion. What? By her disappointment. Tia showed off that showed after the race. It seems as if Frana really had her believing in herself. Yeah, I think those kids are good, man. They'll be fine. Yeah. Waldron Bolin says, any fools out there calling Julien ugly is not worth mentioning. She's a dark-skinned beauty. She bears resemblance to Merlin Lottie. Yeah, so if they're talking about, I honestly haven't seen anything, but any kind of invectives and negative remarks and pejoratives should never go the way of Alfred. I mean, to anybody. Why are we out here calling people names like that? It's a nicer woman you won't find. She is a jewel of our country. Standard beer for the Caribbean as well. Hey, I mean, they need to get a life, whoever is doing that stuff, Yeah. Wayne says, one way to beat Noah, just get out of the blocks and believe this year Noah ain't catching none of them. Oblique prove I guess is the man. What? I'm not sure what you were saying there. No, Noah looked shell-shocked in the rain in Lausanne, and he can't say otherwise. So he says he had a terrible start and execution. We saw that, but he was just not getting back into that race. And that was a different Oblique there. Honestly, an Oblique that I was a little bit scared for, because I'm like, that kind of conditions, you probably don't want to be running that fast. But he did. Lamardo says he said it in a live yesterday. He's worried about Kishane's last 30. Yeah. No, we've been saying this a lot. I think Thompson will get out well. He's really good at getting out. He can get into his acceleration nice. It's just a matter of how you handle the deceleration process. And I don't think he's been good enough this season and last season. That's the biggest weakness. there are different ways to attack that too, and I think they've been probably attacking it, and I have no information on this, in two ways. Probably just to get him to relax better, but also if you get quicker, then you don't have to worry about it either, right? So if you don't want to have to worry about the last 20 meters of the race, then run 9.6, right? That's easier said than done, right? So if you can do that, then you don't worry, right? You wouldn't necessarily worry about most of these guys. That's a different type of thing. But when they're closer to you, and if you're not executing, and if you actually make that get into your head, that could be a situation. I'm not saying it gets into his head, but if that will come up too, and you have to think about what it means to be running at a national, at a major championships too. So yeah. Sherwood says the fact that MJW is also running great times in the 200 points to the fact that she can run 10-6 after rounds. No, I agree on that. I mean, I don't think we should. I don't think that's in dispute. Dell says I think that Julian used Tia as a test in the event she doesn't get a good start against. I guess in the event she doesn't get a good start against Melissa. When you look at the splits, Julian's start was not where we're accustomed to. Yeah, we had all of that up yesterday. I don't have it right now to easily put up, but she was dropping some really good times at the end there too. So we'll see. Wayne says oblique looks more seriously. I guess you mean seriously now with the start. I don't think they're going to catch him. Right? Yeah. If he gets out as a flyer, you have to run him down, and that might be hard. Sophisticated one. Julian is so beautiful. My mom compliments her beauty every time she sees her. Skin is flawless. No, that's a gorgeous woman, a beautiful woman. People saying other things. They need to get a life. Yeah. Navarra says everyone's eyes is on Juju and Melissa. Shakari could pull it off like she did in 2023. No, that would be a massive surprise, Navarro. I can't see it happening. It would be a massive surprise, to be honest with you. Zizi says neither will win. Unfortunately, they are both super talented, but the starts aren't choosing either of them. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. I'm also not going to stay much longer. I'm actually taking a side note to see when my wife gets here. Objectivity says Noah is medaling, but it's up to Kishane and Oblique to determine that it's bronze. That's bars. I like that. Courtney says Kishane needs to relax more towards the end of the race. That's what all he has to do. If he does that, he's slow down slower. Yeah, Waldron says, I believe Jamaica will finish 1, 2 in 100, Kishane and Oblique. In that order, Lies will be lucky to get bronze. And that's what I would be thinking too in terms of even the bronze, but we have to wait and see because you have Kenny, you have, is it Lindsay? You got a bunch of other guys there too. I don't know if Akani will be fully back to his best by the time we get to Tokyo. He had a good start to the season, then he kind of went away, trained some more. He's coming back. He hasn't looked his best yet, but who knows? We should never count out Azarnell Hughes. He has a medal from the last World Championships too, so we'll see. Wayne Walker says, I think Kishane should just run. He's trying too hard to execute a sprinter's race. Don't know when to relax. Interesting. Sherwood 991 says, if Shakari wins, will stop watching track. I don't want you to do that, but I don't think she will win either. I think she has a lot more issues on her hand than it looks like. Electra Trinidad says Juju and a lot of, I'm not sure what that is. It's like hugs and hearts or something like that. Yeah. Cool. Well, guys, here's the thing. I'm gonna go. But it's good hanging out with you. I this impromptu live. I didn't plan on coming live, so I didn't send out a thing early enough to warn everyone, or not warn, but to advertise that the live was coming. But thank you for coming on. I appreciate everybody as usual. Stay tuned to a lot more. We'll be back soon. I think some videos should be popping out on the channel as well. And if you missed the live yesterday with Leighton, please watch that. We'll also cut up some of it so it's easier for you guys to consume. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.